Okay, whenever you wish.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for being at today's meeting. I know I've mentioned Indian Lake Campground at a few of the speeches that I've done in the past, but every year we like to have a cleanup weekend. And in that cleanup weekend, we like to clean up from all of the types of things that go on at the campground because we don't actually close it off to tribal members, but we close it off to the public. But when that happens, things get vandalized or garbage, a lot of garbage. People go in anyway and use my campground. I say my campground only because I've been to summer camp there 2 times, and I am now the manager of that campgrounds. And it seems really weird because I did not grow up here. I grew up in Idaho and ended up being a camper and learning about the culture. And that's where I learned a lot about the culture at that time. It's going to this culture camp a couple different times. And one of those things that I like to do is have a cleanup weekend, and I have jobs for everybody. And my caretaker, who's like probably in his 6th season this year, and he is good about giving me notes through Facebook Messenger. So he gave me some of the jobs that we are looking for people to do this coming couple weeks, right next week. He wants me to walk the paved road and have people pick up garbage. And I also added that I wanted people to go from the Four Corners, which is a 2-mile stretch, to the campground and pick up some of the trash there and move some of the branches or logs that are along the road and move those out of the way. So when the grader comes, they have an easier time of grading the road for us. And that's just before June that they do that. For the young ones, for the young and the elderly, we like to have them pick up trash. Maybe not so much the elders because it's hard to stoop over and pick up trash, but we have that for them to do is pick up trash in the campground. But also clean out fire pits. Sometimes the fire pits get used during the winter when we don't really want them used. So we have the teens and adults probably do that job because that requires a little more manual labor than what an elderly person may be able to do. We have tables that get moved around just like that, like magic. They get moved around. But in actuality, the campers move those tables around. And we want to keep those in spots where we have campsites at. So we're going to have some of the teens and the adults move those tables back to those spots. We have speed bumps in our campground. We have those in place so that people don't go faster than like 5 miles per hour. That's one of our things. When there's a lot of dust and you drive faster than 5 miles per hour, then the dust just kind of goes all over the place, kind of ruins everybody else's way of being at the campground. We have cleanup around the cage, which we like to put in some of our firewood that we want to sell. So we have another job for some of the adult men to help us, and probably some of the teens too, to help us remove some of the half fallen trees so that they don't fall on people while they're in the campground using the campground. That's going to be one of our bigger jobs for the adults, and the male adults especially. You know, they like to throw things, use those machines, use the saws to see what they can do with that. Also, we have weed eating that we can do around our water spigots, as well as around the fish cleaning station and around the bathrooms as well. And that was my list that he gave me that I needed to do. And it's like, well, that's a lot. And then he just gave me a list of things that I needed to do from the office. And one of them was like, make a bunch of 5-mile-per-hour signs, because he kind of gets tired of having to have people slow down when it just seems common sense. But a little more about our cleanup weekend. We like to make it a 2-day event so people can go one of 2 days or even go up both days, but we provide lunch as well. May 11th is the day for that, as for the first big one. May 12th is for the second day, and not many people come up during that day. Maybe just some people might want to just go pick up trash. Let's see. I do like to provide lunch as well. I am looking at probably having maybe hot dogs and hamburgers for the first day. And since we don't know how many people are going to show up for the second day, probably just a bag lunch. But I do want to have a special treat for those people that do come up on Saturday. I seen a TikTok video that was shared on our Indian Lake Campground Facebook page. It was putting your Rice Krispie treats on your, what do you call it? I just brained. Put it on your stick and put that on the fire and roast that. So I'm really curious about that. So I'm going to buy some Rice Krispie treats and make that as a treat for the people that come up for that weekend. But we do ask people to bring their own supplies. We don't have a lot in stock as well. And if they want more information, just give us a call at the office or give us a Facebook message at Camp Indian Lake Campground. My phone number is 541-276-3873, or we also go campindianlake.com for more information. But I am really excited and looking forward to the upcoming season because I have a new event that's coming up as well, and that is a sit and paint. So that may be another speech that I will go into, but May 11th and 12th, 9 to 3, both days, or just whenever you can make it up, come visit us. Lunch is at noon, and I will turn it back over to our Toastmaster, Darlene.
Thank you, Leigh. That was very good. Okay, now comes one of my favorite parts of our Toastmaster meetings, and that is table topics. And today, Kathy is our table topic master. Take it away, Kathy.
Thank you, Darlene. And our, not surprisingly, our table topics revolve around grilled cheese. So I'll ask questions in the order that I see people in my screen. So starting with Darlene, what is your favorite cheese to put on a grilled cheese sandwich and why?
Thank you for that question, Kathy, and fellow Toastmasters. My favorite cheese to put on a grilled cheese, toasted cheese sandwich is cheddar cheese. I know people like to use American cheese, but I prefer cheddar cheese, the sharp cheddar cheese at that. And I like to fix my sandwich in a pan, and sometimes the cheese, because cheddar cheese is a little bit thicker, it doesn't always melt, even if I flip the sandwich over. So after I get it all cooked in the pan so that I don't burn my toast, I will stick the sandwich in the microwave to finish melting the cheese. And that is my favorite cheese to put in my cheese sandwich. When I was growing up, sometimes we would have, my mom would fix in the oven an open face sandwich with cheese on it and garlic powder on it. And the cheese and the garlic taste wonderful together. And that was one of my favorite things too. So, and for that, I think she would use the American cheese. I don't really remember. Any kind of cheese would taste good, wouldn't it? Back to you, Kathy.
Thank you. Wonderful. You're making me hungry. Jim, what other sandwiches should have a national month dedicated to them?
Madam Table Topic Master, fellow Toastmasters, and invisible guests. The other sandwich that I think should be really nationalized is bologna. because those are the sandwiches I grew up on the farm. We always had bologna sandwiches during, excuse me, during wheat harvest, and they were easy to fix. You had bologna, and don't ever use Miracle Whip. Excuse me. Let's make that a correction. Don't ever use mayonnaise, because if you knew how mayonnaise was made, you would never eat mayonnaise ever again. And because there's ladies present, I won't tell you how mayonnaise is made. I encourage all people to use Miracle Whip, and that would also be the national bread spread for this bologna sandwich. And in that bologna sandwich, you would have bologna, which is a main, and it'd be at least a thick inch slice. You would have lettuce, and you would have tomatoes and pickles. And what my dad always liked to put on bologna sandwiches was sprouts, bean sprouts, which was really good. It made it really good. And that's something that I think they should make a national sandwich, National Day sandwich, is bologna sandwiches. And of course, when you see that, you have to realize that the more you add, the better the sandwich. Back to you, Madam Table Topic Master.
Thank you, Jim. Leigh, what is your favorite bread for grilled cheese sandwiches and why?
Good morning, and thank you, Kathy Hansen, for that question. Bread, white or wheat? I am not sure which one to choose from. It's just whatever I have in the house at the time. I'm not a demagogue of being one of those people that is against wheat bread. I prefer the wheat bread. My husband prefers white bread as well. I would say I lean more towards the wheat bread because I think it's healthier, but it may not be. But I like the wheat bread. My husband prefers the white bread, even though he hasn't been eating any bread. So it's been a little different in the house, not having as much bread. So I haven't had a grilled cheese sandwich in a while. And having this as a topic, I might have to have a grilled cheese sandwich. And I will put mayonnaise on that sandwich, Jim. Thank you.
Thank you. Beth, are you a grilled cheese purist, or are you open to having additional ingredients on your grilled cheese, like bacon, for example?
Thank you for that question, Madam Table Topics Master. I'm more a purist, but after I say what I like on my sandwich, you may not call me a purist because I like Velveeta on my sandwiches. That's part of, I don't know. My son loves Velveeta, absolutely loves it. I like it too. And so we have many, many memories of grilled cheese sandwiches and tomato soup. That was our go-to comfort food after numerous things happened in our lives. And I remember in Pendleton working until whatever wee hour of the morning and coming home. And, it's 1 or 2 in the morning and he would make grilled Velveeta sandwiches. And we really liked that Safeway tomato soup and we'd sit outside and have that and just unwind and talk and maybe have a glass of wine with it. So grilled cheese sandwiches and tomato soup are just tied into my emotional center. I remember the first time I had one with tomatoes and I was shocked, but it was quite good. It wasn't Velveeta. It was very, very good. I did want to share that it's out in the car, unfortunately, because I looked before I signed on. I found a birthday card. I'm sending it to my son, although it's not his birthday. And it shows a big fat cat on the front of it. And it says, I did a genealogy test. He's sitting, I found out I'm 27% cheese. and then you open it up and it says something funny too, but I couldn't remember that part. And I was going to cross off the cheese and write in Velveeta and send it to him. So I wish I had it to show you, but darn it, I didn't bring it in. So thank you very much for that question and the wonderful memories that it elucidates for me.
Thank you. I kind of thought Velveeta was going to make it into that history that Darlene was sharing with us, but it did not. Well, everybody has gotten a question. I do have a couple more questions if anybody wants one. I don't want to be a demagogue and force them on anybody, but anybody want to do another round? All right, with no takers, I will turn it back over to our Toastmaster, Darlene.
Thank you, Kathy. Those were wonderful questions. The next portion of our speech, of our meeting, is our evaluation. So I will turn it over to our general evaluator to run that portion of the meeting.
Thank you very much, Madam Toastmaster. I consider mayonnaise a demigod. Just for those that know the story of mayonnaise, and that's something that, like I said, I won't belate the issue, but I think you guys should know how mayonnaise was invented and why it shouldn't be used on your sandwiches. Now, our meeting did start on time. And because we're doing a round robin, each Toastmaster will get 1 to 2 minutes to evaluate Leigh's speech. And we'll go ahead and start off with Darlene. Darlene, please give your evaluation.
Thank you, Jim. And especially Leigh. You're very personable when you give us a speech. It's like you're talking directly one-on-one with us. It doesn't sound like you're up on a podium or a lectern giving a speech. It's like you're talking to us. And I like that because it's easier to pay attention and listen to you. There are a couple of things for improvement. I noticed when you're thinking, you tend to look at the ceiling. And I know each of us have our little quirks that what we do when we're thinking. And there were a few pauses in the middle of some of your sentences when you were thinking exactly what you wanted to say to us next, and a little bit of rocking back and forth. But none of those were huge distractors because your information was extremely interesting. And I really enjoyed learning about all the things that you do to clean up the campground. And it made me wish that during the summer, I'm able to get up to the campground for a day of relaxation and maybe even some fishing. Back to you, Jim.
Thank you very much, Darlene. Beth, would you please give your evaluation of Leigh's speech?
Have to get the mouse in the right spot. It doesn't work. Thank you, Leigh, for that speech. I did not hear your introduction or those parts, but what I heard, your organization seemed quite nice, well planned. It was how you broke things up by age group as to what parts were going to be done by what age groups, or the elders or the teens, or I have a cat. And the elders and the teens and the men, and you had some interesting kind of fun comments, especially on the men, which I'll bring up in my report for grammarians. So that was, right there. Literally right on the computer. And Missy missed your speech, darn it. Or Missy could help me do this. She's also covering my notes. let's see what else I had written down. Your voice inflection when you were talking about lunch, it went up. It was nice. It got a little more excitement in it. When Missy, you got to move, buddy. Come on, you got to move. Your voice, I didn't see too many hand motions. That could be something you could improve on. It was an interesting topic to find out how something worked and how it all comes together and all the work that goes into it. So thank you very much for your session.
Thank you, Beth. Kathy, would you please give your evaluation of
Certainly.
Leigh's speech?
Sure. Leigh, I felt that you were in a very good position in relation to the camera. You were, right there, front and center. I couldn't tell if you were sitting or standing, but it didn't really make a difference. Since you looked like you could have been standing, it was a perfectly good position. You spoke at a very good pace. Darlene talked about how you're easy to listen to, and I definitely agree with that. It's a very conversational tone, good volume, easy to follow. And you had very good enthusiasm, especially toward the end. A couple of areas for improvement. Like Darlene, I noticed this kind of swaying, and I particularly noticed it in your shoulders. It's sort of like this kind of thing. Your eye contact could have been better. When we're online, the best way to have eye contact is to look directly into the camera. So, and you don't have to do that all the time, but maybe a little bit more often. You had some hand gestures that were not fully within camera range. When you were looking at the paper from your colleague, I sometimes heard rustling of the paper. But overall, you gave a really good overview of what it takes to clean up a campground, and I found it very interesting. So thank you for that. Back to you, Jim.
Thank you very much, Kathy. Leigh, your speech was not a demigod speech. I really enjoyed your speech. I learned a lot from your speech, and it was very interesting. The interesting thing about your speech, I believe that you could have gone into more detail about how they pick up the trash, because you said you don't want them to stoop over, especially like the senior citizens. And I know for like myself, it is hard to bend over. And my thought too is, what is wrong? I know this might seem a little bit more demagogue, is having a torch, especially with trash, that it flash burns the trash so you don't have to pick it up, because we know that ashes are actually good for the ground. And that is something to think about, making it easier on your cleanup personnel to have, like I said, it's called a flash torch. And when they see a piece of paper, they just torch it and poof, it just goes right away. Of course, the cans, I know it's a little bit different. I enjoyed your looking straight at the audience, and I look forward to hearing more from you. Thank you very much, Leigh. Now it's time to hear from our grammarian. Madam Grammarian, how did we do for the word of the day, which was demagogue? And how did we do on our ums and ahs? And please chat message to our Toastmaster who won the Wizard of Oz. Take it away, Beth.
Thank you, Jim. For my report, from what I have, Jim won the word of the day, but Kathy and Leigh each used it as well. I may have missed anyone earlier. Ums and ahs. Leigh, I had what, as I just said one, I apologize. I heard one was like in your speech. So I heard that. Other than that, I didn't hear anything. For comments today, Jim, as always. Jim gets the funny ones, right? If you knew how mayo was made, you'd never eat it again. But there's ladies' presents, so you wouldn't go into it. And an inch slice of bologna. I can't imagine. That isn't what comes to mind. So that would have been quite an interesting sandwich that you had, but it brought quite a picture to mind, a very thick one. And the more you add, the better the sandwich. There's a good theme there. Kathy, I just want to tell you, I enjoyed your evaluation. I have a lot I can learn from those, and nicely done. I just wanted to thank you. It was a good learning experience for me, so thank you. Leigh, I had first written down the speed bumps. When you mentioned clean up around the cage, I don't know where I know where my mind is. My stomach doesn't feel that great, and I have to teach her in a few minutes. But you said around the cage, and I'm like, cage. And then you went on to go ahead and explain it. I think it's probably for wood, but my first impression was, oh, interesting. Maybe it's for the cat, right? This one was my favorite, though. The males like to throw things. Use those machines with that one. So that always brings a nice picture to mind. Then also the special treats, the Rice Krispies that are going to go on the flame in the coals. That was kind of an interesting picture that came to mind. And I hope that you do decide to let us know how that goes. I think that Darlene, what did I have for Darlene? Just the garlic open-faced sandwiches. That kind of I was kind of curious a little more about that. But that is all I had today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Beth. And I don't know if you told us who the Wizard of Oz was or you sent that to Darlene, so go ahead and send that to Darlene. Now, times. Leigh's speech was supposed to be 5 to 7 minutes. The speech was 7 minutes and 1 second. Table topics. I was 1 minute and 45 seconds. Darlene was 1 minute and 30 seconds. Beth was 2 minutes and 2 seconds. And Leigh was 1 minute and 13 seconds. Evaluation. I have Darlene 1 minute and 28 seconds. Beth at 1 minute and 10 seconds. Kathy at 1 minute and 45 seconds. And I was 1 minute and 30 seconds. And please send your votes for the most improved and the best table topics and the best evaluator. If you'll send those to me, I'll get those sent to Darlene in the chat. That is my report. That is my report today. And it appears that we will end a little bit early today. Okay. Yes, I'm sending those votes to Darlene. Darlene, you should get the votes now.
It hasn't popped in yet.
I know. I'm going to do that right now. There we go.
Okay.
There you go. I got them sent to you, Darlene.
Okay.
Great meeting.
Yes.
Back to you, Madam Tabletop, or back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you very much, fellow Toastmasters. I do have the winners. Wizard of Oz, none other than moi. Best table topics, Beth. And most improved, Kathy. Best evaluator, Kathy. Those are our winners for today. I believe we've gotten the reports. So it is time to return the control of the meeting to our president.
Thank you, Darlene, for being our Toastmaster of the day. Very good meeting. I like grilled cheese. I'm going to have to buy some bread and make one sometime this week. Let's go with our fill the roles for next week. Who wants to be the Toastmaster?
Well, I'm speaker next week. I am the speaker next week.
Okay, and Beth just chatted that she's gone the next 2 weeks.
And I can do word of the day next week.
Jim for word of the day and speaker.
I'll be Toastmaster and it'll be Mother's Day.
Okay, and the theme would be Mother's Day.
Yes.
Okay. I can do table topics, and I can also be the timer.
And Mary's going to be back next week.
Yeah,
So do you want to go ahead and give her something and send her an email?
yes. Why don't we put her down for general evaluator?
Oh, do you have a question, Beth, or are you saying goodbye?
Okay.
Fun teaching.
Thanks. I don't like these early morning ones. I prefer the afternoon. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay, so we need a Marion and evaluator.
Well, we can do round robin again.
I think the round robins are easiest when we have, when we're short on people being here, just because I don't know. I kind of like to it's interesting when
Yeah,
we
I do
plug
too.
in each of our ideas.
So shall we put Mary down, Mary for grammarian 2 then?
We can do that, yeah.
Okay.
And so we just need someone
Joke
to,
and a quote.
yeah. Jim, you're good with joke. You always have good jokes.
Okay. All right. So we have all the roles filled.
Yeah, we do.
All right. Do we have any announcements?
Just that I sent Toastmasters, hopefully it's what they need to do the process of getting us
Suspended.
whatchamacallit.
And it's good to see Kathy here.
Yes,
Good to
it
see
is.
you, Kathy.
Thank you. Good to be here.
May 20th is the district executive committee meeting. Is that what that is?
The district council. Yeah.
District council. Okay.
Oh, and we have a club officer meeting tonight.
Yep.
What?
Tonight at 5.
Yeah. Just using the same Zoom link that we
Okay.
used this morning. So
As well as district conference, May 17th and 18th. I know I already have something planned, so I can't go. Looks like fun though. If there's nothing else, we can adjourn the meeting early. Unless anybody else has any other comments. I know Jim and Darlene have. Sure, go ahead.
I have a question for Kathy. Is any part of the district conference going to be recorded like on Zoom, so those of us who can't go can get in on part of it?
It's not going to be on Zoom, but we do have a videographer for the entire conference, so we will be able to offer some kind of after product that you can see.
That would be good. Because I really enjoy these conferences, and this year it just isn't possible for me to go. Once we get my legs all healed up, and they finally are actually starting to heal, I think we've finally made some progress. So
Yeah.
Okay, thank you everyone for being at today's meeting.
I'll see you later tonight, some of you, and Kathy, see you when we see you. And it was good to have you here. Thank you.
Thank
All right, have a great week,
Bye.
everybody. Bye.